So the first question is who you are and why you're here.
My name's Cole Nelson, first year PhD student in the media school at IU. I'm here because I want a union. I want grad workers to have a union, and more broadly than that, I want IU to be the democratic institution it claims it to be, in theory. But I want that to happen in practice. So I'm here trying to make that happen.
What sort of a timeline of events that led to the decision to strike, or at least that you were involved in?
Yeah. The coalition, the IGWC, went public with a campaign in September 2019 to call for an end to fees for graduate workers. And our position was that these fees, at the time, just under $700 per semester, and then an additional $300 for international students. These constituted and continue to constitute a pay cut for grad workers.
Right.
So we went public with that campaign, gathered signatures of over 2,000 students, marched that January 2020 to Vice Provost of Graduate Education, David Dalekey, had a meeting with him. He promised additional meetings in the future. That never culminated. And ever since, the university has refused to actually sit down and meet with us and address through dialogue the demands that we have. So we see all sorts of new task forces get formed that ultimately amount to nothing, except maybe a recommendation here and there. We've seen graduate workers pushed out of the fee review committee. We've seen the university now relegate and ultimately push out the graduate student government because they openly advocate for the union, for a graduate worker union. And it's through this kind of continuum.
So the student government has been reduced because of the demands that they're making for the union.
They've been, I would say, the student engagement in the student government has increased because of the open advocacy for graduate worker demands. But it's the university has refused to engage with them in any sort of meaningful dialogue, even though when they say we're not going to listen to the union, we're going to listen to the official channels for student advocacy. They say that they don't do it. They ultimately don't do it.
So what are the main concerns of the graduate workers? Is it the cost of living here in Bloomington or is it these outrageous tuition fees? You're racking up debt, or just sort of a combination of both that's making it so hard for people in master's and PhD programs right now?
Yeah, all of the above, really. We have a number of kind of key demands that are felt across the pool of graduate workers throughout campus, and those demands culminate in our platform for union recognition, where we're ultimately demanding union recognition so we can have some sort of consistent institutional voice to sit with the university and negotiate over our working conditions.
Apart from the union recognition itself, what would those demands be?
Yeah, right now we've got a 5-point platform. Cost of living adjustment, right? Wages that are commensurate to the standard of living for Bloomington, and that, along with annual increases, so that inflation never outstrips our wages. An end to fees. We're continuing that demand because again, that's a pay cut for graduate workers.
Right.
We want equity for international students, and I can get into the specifics of that as well.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. Well, the university, firstly, nickels and dimes international students at every turn. The international student fee has increased exponentially over the past several years, much more so than any of the other mandatory student fees. And it is entirely unclear where those fees are going to. They're certainly not going to services for international students. The student experience when it comes to the Office of International Services is often one of frustration because there are countless, especially through COVID, there have been countless questions about legal status, about visa applications and visa renewal and all the rest of it. And the Office of International Services has done very little work to offer any amount of security to international students. So we think the university has quite explicitly discriminated against students based off of national origin. And we're demanding equity on all accounts there.
As far as any messages that you want to get out to the community for community help, what can the community do to help you, and what would you like? How can people help? I know there's, we'll put a link for the funding in the description, but is there anywhere they can go to find ways to help you guys?
Yeah, definitely. We keep our website updated and as polished as possible. There's rapid changes. So my first recommendation would to be, check out indianagradworkers.org, and through that you can, materially support through donations. You can sign up to join the picket line. That's crucial. The more energy we have, the more support on the picket, the louder we are, and the more significant of a presence we have on campus. We have, various volunteer events, making signs. Today we're doing phone banking and calling all of our members to turn them out for picket lines next week. And all of this, all of this can be accessed through the website. And if I would also solicit additional ideas that community members have in terms of ways to support. One of the most exciting things about the strike is the degree of creativity everybody is bringing to the table, and that doesn't start and stop at the student basis. It doesn't start and stop at the IU basis, and that extends to community members as well. So any ideas, we're happy to incorporate them into our strike.
So has the outside community helped in any way so far?
Yeah, tons of donations. There have been financial donations. There have been food donations. People have been bringing pizza, cookies, donuts, coffee to the picket lines, keeping us energized and fed while we're screaming our lungs out. We've gotten just recently a unanimous passage of a resolution through City Council that is calling on the provost to redact a number of his statements threatening graduate workers, and to an extent threatening faculty as well. So that resolution was quite significant. There's been donations of materials too. Some of our canopies, tables, and additional material we bring out to the picket line have been through community support. So, I mean, it's a really exciting time where it seems like many of us are getting involved, no matter our status or relationship with the university.
This week, I know you guys vote weekly, correct?
Yeah.
As far as next week, what are some places you're going to? Where will you be picketing and rallying?
We're having a big, hopefully our largest picket yet on Monday, meeting at Sample Gates from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And in the middle of that at noon, grad workers will be marching over to Vice Provost Pavalko's office to show her the vast support that we have for this thing, and to demonstrate explicitly to her that there is strength, there is overwhelming support for this, and she cannot ignore it. And we're demonstrating to her that there's no possible way she can ignore it by coming to her office. So that's going to be a major event for us, and we're planning a major event in the step. We're planning to be a step further in the direction of getting union recognition here.
So one last time, if you can state where information can be found.
that's information that can all be accessed through the website, indianagradworkers.org. And highly recommend checking the place out. We've got a wonderful group of people who are, constantly updating it and doing some incredible work, probably mind-numbing work of making sure that that website is as up to date as possible. But and I thank them for doing it, because that means it's not me. But yeah, updated locations, all the rest of it, schedules as well will be going up on the website, so we'll make sure community members can be involved. Social media too, at Indiana Grads, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We keep those updated with daily Picket information, with schedules and all the rest of it.
Hi, my name's Calvin Tim, and I'm here with the Indy CPUSA channel, Communist Party USA. And today we're talking to Peter Cho about the Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition here in Bloomington, Indiana. And what brings you out here today?
Well, I'm involved with the coalition, so we're over here setting up pickets, planning out the plans for the coming week.
How long have you been involved with the strike?
I've been involved with the coalition for 2.5 years now.
Could you talk about sort of the timeline of events that led to the coalition's decision to strike?
Yeah, so we now have a supermajority of grad workers on union cards, which we signed people on last semester. The whole kind of 2.5 years that we've been around, we've constantly tried to work to end the fees, improve the working conditions of graduate workers. And for the entire time, the upper administration have refused to improve education at IU because, improving our living conditions is improving the conditions of education at IU.
When did the coalition get involved with the United Electrical Workers?
We started that partnership about a year ago now. Yeah.
And how has that impacted your ability to organize?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. Basically, I mean, UE is a very democratic union, and basically, the union here is the members, and essentially, UE gives us resources to help us. Just help us improve education here at IU.
The strike has been going on for a week now.
We're into our second week, so it's about a week and a half now. Yeah.
How are undergraduates responding to the strike?
They also understand that our working conditions is their conditions for their education. So broad support across the board. All the students are out here picketing with us and supportive of us.
With a large university like IU, grad students sort of play an essential role. In if they're not teaching the classes directly, they're at least grading papers and doing all sorts of stuff. So, what's going to happen if the strike continues? How are courses going to come to an end this semester?
That's a good question. I mean, we hope that the administration will come to the table and talk to us soon, because I think it's in everyone's best interest for us to open up a dialogue and form a union. So, we'll see. But I don't see why they aren't aren't at the table already with us.
How can community members, people from around Bloomington, show their support for the strike?
Yeah, well, we have a strike fund that people can donate to. People can show up to the picket line and support us by being there. And already we've seen the amount of food that appears at our picket line has been immensely surprising. So already we have a ton of support from the community. But yeah, those are kind of the main ways that people can help out.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's all.
What are some of the conditions of work that you guys are fighting, to better?
Yeah, so we are fighting for a living wage. We're fighting for fairness for international students. We want an effective grievance procedure, and then improved benefits. So those are kind of the main things that we want, but we want to get all those things through a union, because then we'll have a seat at the bargaining table, and we have a say in our conditions.
And so far, has there been any reaction from the administration about this?
Yeah, so the reaction from the administration so far has been in the form of threatening us, which I think is a very kind of unprofessional and what would be the word? Unproductive stance for them to have. Like I said, I think it's in everyone's benefit for us to form a union, for us to sit at the table, for the people who teach classes at IU to have a living wage. I think it's a very reasonable and productive thing to have. So,
how are professors responding to the strike? I mean, it seems like they're sort of losing their helpers, and I'm just curious what their response is.
Yeah, the faculty as well, just broad support across the board as well. Look, basically everyone understands that this is a very reasonable request for us to have. It is in everyone's best interest for the working conditions of the teachers at IU to be fair. So, yeah, faculty are also quite frustrated, I think, with the admin response.
All right.
For anybody that's interested in helping out in any way, where can they go to find your information?
Yeah, so you can go to indianagraduateworkerscoalition.org, I think is our URL for our website, and all the information on that.
And social media?
Social media, yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I think it's usually at IU grads or at Indiana grads as well. Thank you.
I'm here with Jesse. We're talking about the Indiana Student Workers Coalition strike, which is happening in Bloomington, Indiana. How did you get involved with the strike?
I'm a first year, and a lot of my cohort is really involved in the IGWC stuff, and so sort of through friendships with them, like learning and getting involved.
It's your first year in a grad program, or is it
I'm a PhD student.
Oh, okay. Can you talk about sort of the timeline of events that led to the decision to strike?
Yeah, so the IGWC has been around for a couple years, I think, and it was a really long lead up in my understanding. This is my first year, so I wasn't involved, obviously, but I think they did like a fee strike in either 2019 or 2020, and then this year they really pushed for getting a lot of people to sign union cards, and I don't think the strike was really in the plan until a couple months ago, maybe. They did a lot of stuff before that. Like, they always were having people walk over letters to the administration to get them to read them, and there were these stupid listening sessions that were happening. So I really think the strike is provoked by the stonewalling of the administration, and not something that the IGWC was like, we definitely have to be super militant and go on strike as soon as possible. It was just kind of pushed into that situation. But now we're really committed to seeing it through and making the administration recognize us.
What actions do you think that the administration needs to take?
Well, I mean, it's really easy. I don't understand what they're doing. They just need to recognize the union. Like, that's the first step to collective bargaining, obviously, is to respect us enough to give us a seat at the table. And, that's going to be long, hard work once we have our union recognized and, hashing that out. But that's just the first step. That's what we're asking them to do right now. And it's very simple. And I don't know what kind of politicking is going on that they're just so against unions that they won't even accept that, even though there are unions on campus already. So it's really just doesn't make any sense. It's a very simple step for them to take to resolve all this tension and drama, and it's on them,
Can you talk about some of the events that have been going on this past week since the strikes began?
Yeah, so we've had picket lines every day at various locations. Yesterday, maybe someone's already talked to you about this, but there was an emergency meeting or something with the provost and a bunch of deans and chairs, and so we picketed outside the union, outside the windows where they were holding their meeting, and that was really great, I think, because we had a specific point to be screaming at and not just kind of standing around cheering, which is also really fun and really energizing. But it's kind of like there are these picket lines and there are social events and stuff for the IGWC members to form these bonds of solidarity and community. But then obviously the thing that is our leverage is the strike itself and canceling classes and not grading and withholding that labor, because that's sort of the leverage point. So it's sort of this public event side to get everyone excited and involved, and then the background of what a strike actually is, which is withholding labor.
And how are undergraduates responding to graduate workers who are withholding their labor?
I've seen a lot of support from the undergrads. We have a lot coming to the picket lines, and there was a press conference the other day where some undergraduates gave some really eloquent speeches talking about why they're supporting the grad students, because I think for the most part they understand that working conditions for their instructors translate to their learning conditions, and so we want to help them and we love them. We're not trying to be like cruel or greedy. It's about helping everybody, and that's what a union really does. And I know there is definitely some anxiety of like how this is going to play out, because the administration is really hardballing and being aggressive, but I think the IGWC is really strong and really committed, and we have a lot of backing from a lot of undergrads, so that's really nice.
And how's the faculty responding? Has there been any sort of frustration so far with the strike?
Yeah, I think there are some faculty, I'm sure, that are just either anti-union themselves for their political reasons or whatever. And I know that a lot of faculty are scared because the administration is being really horrible to them and trying to pressure them to intimidate us and to intimidate them. But so far, I think we have a really strong backing from the faculty, and they're really angry with the provost and the rest of the administration for what they're doing, and so that's kind of helping. When the administration is so aggressive, it puts the faculty even more on our side, because they're like, that's not fair, you shouldn't be doing that. So I think that is sort of where we're at right now with the faculty, and we're trying to like keep building these relationships with faculty members and having these lines of communication so we all know kind of what's going on and we're acting together and not being pitted against each other.
What ways can people in Bloomington help show their support for the strike, or I guess larger than just Bloomington?
Yeah. No, I think one of the easiest ways is to come to the picket line. It's really fun, and you get to meet a lot of people that you probably wouldn't have met otherwise. And you can also donate to the strike fund, or they just launched a new fund for, I can't remember what it's called, but it's to maintain the strike like materials, because the other fund is for retaliation.
What's the name of the website where they can donate?
Oh yeah, it's if you Google IGWC, it's the Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition. There's a link on the page for community members to get involved if they want. So yeah.
And can you talk about what the plan is today with Little Five?
Yeah, so I don't know completely, but we're doing a bike picket. I'm not sure where we're going to be riding, but we've actually had a flying bike picket every day of the picket line so far, with like 6 or 7 people riding around and doing chants. So now I think it's just like that, but magnified. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure where exactly we're going geographically in Bloomington, but we will see soon.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thanks for the opportunity. I hope people get involved and support us. I know a lot of people do. And I'm excited to see how it turns out.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Calvin Tim. I'm here with Indy CPUSA. in Bloomington, Indiana, and we're talking to the Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition. And this is Despina. First of all, I'd like to ask you, what brings you out here today?
We are just finished our cycling Picket for today. We are in our second week of striking for union recognition at IU, and I'm part of the Indiana Graduate Workers Union.
How long have you been here at IU?
This is my 5th year, and I'm a graduate student. I finished my master's here, continued into my PhD.
Can you talk about the timeline of events that led to the strike since you've been here 5 years?
Yes, like the Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition 3 years ago started with an End the Fees campaign, and we have been campaigning ever since. Of course, there was a life break with the pandemic, right? But after that, with all the events that followed, we decided that the path would be to unionize, and we decided to go with UE. And since then, we have been going to a lot of meetings with the people from the administration, and especially the graduate school, but we haven't had any material solutions.
Can you talk about your relationship with Electric Workers United and how that came to be?
Yes, that came to be, I would say, organically, right? And we found support, and we decided that that's something that actually could express us, right? Or we can communicate with that union. Of course, their motto is that the workers be united, and that the actual unions run their union. So we have our own committees and we make the decisions. We will just get legal support from them, or other material support.
And
How has the administration reacted to the strikes and rallies?
Before the union recognition, before we decided to be a union, you mean at the very...
Well, how have they reacted so far to everything you guys are doing?
Yes, the administration is essentially publicly ignoring what we are doing, claiming that we are not even workers, but we are mostly and mainly students at IU. So they just don't recognize the fact that we want to unionize. That's why we're striking today.
And how are undergraduates responding, in your opinion?
Yes, undergraduates are really supportive, because they see, especially I'm in music school, and they see how little we are getting paid and we are compensated, and how much they pay for the university for the classes that we are teaching. So from my experience, they have been supportive, and I had really good experiences with my students.
Can you talk about the demands of the students? We've heard a lot of concerns about the way or security concerns about international students.
Yes, I'm an international student myself, and we have been fighting for equity in international students. We have seen a disproportionate not influences, but a disproportionate raises in fees for international students, right? In the last 3 years, the fees have been climbed up from 200 per year to 700.
What kind of explanation is the administration given for these sort of price hikes on international students?
They have actually not been giving really clear explanations, and the only explanation that they would give us would be that this is federal. Yes.
So you don't know where the extra those extra funds are
No.
going?
And this is one of the main reasons why I decided to be so involved with the coalition. I saw this big difference in the fees.
And can you talk about ways that the community can get involved?
Yes, the community here in Bloomington has been very supportive. Like the other day, the city council actually endorsed and suggested, like, to the university to recognize our union. And the senators, the Democratic senators in Indiana, have also asked from the president and the provost to recognize our union. And yes, we have had so much community support that it's really touching and yes, encouraging for us.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you. Yeah.